Right, this is the one where we're going to make our page actually come to life, because we've added all of these buttons so far and even an entire navigation menu, but none of them actually work yet. So that's why in this course we're going to look at the different actions our elements can perform. We'll take a look at hover actions to enable, disable or toggle other elements, and we'll also look at click actions, which opens up a whole new array of interactions. And lastly, we're going to use all of the knowledge we've gained so far to create a sticky pop-up that also darkens our background a little bit. A bit more complex, but all really cool stuff. So let's take a look at our page. Because after the last course, I've gone ahead and added an entirely new section about football to our page. Because you can't miss out on football when you're talking about a South American country. It's got a big title, some text and images, and a green shape that I've set to 100% width using the auto size options. Oh, and I've added a slideshow too, with some images that autoplay when the page is viewed.
Why did you place a number 5 on the trophy?
Because Brazil's the only country in the world that won the World Cup 5 times.
Oh, didn't know that.
Well, now you do. You're welcome. So, scroll back up a little bit. Remember when we added the big Foro, Bossa Nova and Samba titles?
No, we don't. You did that behind the scenes.
Well, that's true, but I did build the explainer sections on top of those titles on video. Problem is though, that the explainer sections are currently covering the titles themselves. So let's fix that with some hover actions. Let's get into it. First, I'll add some images to the page right next to the explainer. These are going to function as my buttons, so I'm going to make them grow on hover with a hover effect, like we learned in the previous course. Now, we're going to use these images to show and hide the explainer. So let's select the image and head on over to the element action panel, where we'll see both on click and on hover actions. Let's select the on hover action first, and we'll see that we can now either toggle, show, or hide our elements or groups. Toggling makes the element appear or disappear when actively hovering an element, and stops the action when you stop hovering. Show makes the element appear on hover, and it will stay visible when you stop hovering. And hide then makes the element permanently disappear on hover. I'm going to use the toggle option and select the entire pop foro group, which contains both the black background and the white text inside of it. And because I previously grouped these elements, I can now more easily configure the pop-up. And also, by applying the action to an entire group, it's more future-proof as well, because the entire group has the action applied to it. Any element in this group will automatically be involved in this action too. So, if I add or remove elements from this group, they will also automatically be included in the action. Now, when I preview my page, we'll see that the pop-up is visible by default, but it hides when I hover the plus icon. It's not what I was looking for. I wanted the other way around, so we're going to select the pop-up group in the layers panel and click the eye icon to hide it from view. Now, when I go into preview mode again, the pop-up shows when I hover the plus icon and hides when I stop hovering. Perfect.
What happens on mobile?
Well, now that you mention it, little side note. Hovering isn't possible on a mobile device. So in those cases, you need to manually convert your hover actions into click or tap actions. But click actions, on the other hand, can do much more than just showing or hiding other elements. Let's start with the Start the Story button in our full screen scene, because I want this button to navigate to the other scene when it's clicked. I'll select the button and head on over to the Element Actions panel. In the On Click section, I can see all of the available actions my elements can perform. On click, it can go to a certain scene or even another page, and we can head to a specific URL or put in, or we can even have it open a new email we can send to a certain address. Anyway, we can also scroll to elements, download files, have people share this page in their socials, control a specific element like a video or slideshow, or we can control the navigation environment surrounding the entire project. For my button, I need the Go to Scene option. Here I can set it to go to the previous, next, or a specific scene. In my case, I can use both the next or the long page option, as they will both have the same results. Now, on the long page scene, I've got a similar back to top button, and I can apply the exact same action to it. Select it, head on over to the Element Actions panel, select the Go to Scene option, and select either the previous or full screen option to apply the action. The navigation menu is slightly different, as this needs to scroll down to a certain page section that I haven't divided into scenes. So in this case, we're going to use the Scroll to Element option. So with my Carnival and Rio text selected, I'll select the Carnival black background element to link to. This makes the page scroll to the top of this element, taking me to the start of this section. I'll do the same for the other menu items and link to that background element. So music and dance are going to link to the music green background, the Amazon rainforest is going to link to Amazon blue background, and Yoga Bonito will then link to... Ben, you know the answer?
The background of the yoga section?
No. This was a trick question, because this section doesn't start with a background, so instead I'll link to the yoga title. Now, if we go to the section about the Amazon, we'll see a facts and figures button that I previously placed. This button is going to open a pop-up that remains sticky, but also darkens the background a little. Let's start with the darkened background, because that's simpler than you might think. I'm just going to add a new shape to my page and give it a black background color. Set the opacity to 80 and use the auto size options to make it fill the entire screen. That's it. The pop-up itself is a bit more complex though, because it needs at least 3 things: a background, the contents, and a close button. I'll drag in a shape that will function as the background first. Now, for the contents, I'll add a title and some text. I'll finish the pop-up by adding an image that will function as a button to close the pop-up. And as usual, I use the Grow hover effect, just like I did with all of the other buttons on my page.
Talk about consistency.
Well, that's how you know you're dealing with a professional, which I'm not. But we've got a very professional design team that is making absolutely sure I do everything correctly. Now, I'm going to select all of my new layers in the Layers panel and group them together. We'll name this Facts Pop-up. Then select the Close button, go to the Element Actions panel and make this button hide the entire pop-up group as well as the dark background. Back to the Layers panel and click the eye icon for both the group and the background to make them hidden by default. I'll finish off by applying the same action to the Facts and Figures button, only now we need to make both the pop-up and the background show when it's clicked. Hit preview mode again to see if it all works. First button opens the pop-up and darkens the background. Close button hides it again. I also told you that we were going to make this pop-up sticky so it stays in place when I scroll through the page. So let's do that. I'm going to select the pop-up group and set its positioning to screen border and hit the center icon. I'll also enable the sticky option to make sure it stays in place when this page is scrolled. Lastly, I'll set the positioning values to 0. This will keep it dead center on any screen that's viewing the page. Hide it again through the Layers panel and hit preview. Open the pop-up and now when I scroll, it stays in place. And there we go. We learned how to use hover actions to toggle, show or hide specific elements. And with click actions, a whole new array of interactions opened up, such as toggling elements and navigating to other elements, scenes or even pages. Or we can have the external route with URLs, emails and social sharing options. And we finished this one by creating a pop-up with a darkened background that we made sticky to stay in place when we scroll through the page. In the next course, we'll build the final part on the desktop version of our page, the form.